Warm good morning to my dear students. Welcome to the history class. Today we will discuss about learning and culture. For every religion, learning and culture are two important aspects, isn't it? Through learning, they could develop their community and religious practice tells us about culture. Religious tradition and beliefs denotes us about the cultural practice of a particular community. Here we will talk about the Islam community because this chapter is all about that. If we talk about the past time, the Islam community, the Islam religion was developed and it was developing and becoming better and better with the passage of time. Even most of the people were adopting Islam, so Islam was spread. You all know how it was spread, isn't it? We discussed those topics. Now, here a question arises in our mind how it developed, how it was becoming better and better with the passage of time. The answer, the reason, for this was their social interaction. They were, you can say, social butterflies because they loved to contact many people. So the community was obliged. They were obliged about themselves and they used to relate themselves to God and they used to spread their ideas in the world. So they like contacting people and so they used to contact people, and if they will contact people they will try to explain their perspective, their point of view to the people. People will also get it, isn't it? So it is one of the reason of their development. Now there are some questions which arises in the minds of the people. The minds of the people of this community, that is the Islam community. The questions are like how a Muslim should behave in public and how he or she should behave in private. What is the sole purpose of God for their creation, and how thus they will know what God wants from them, why God has created them, how they could understand the mysteries of the universe. You all know that this universe is full of mysteries. Now how they will solve or how they will understand these mysteries. Now these were some questions which arise in the minds of the people of Islam community. Now the answers to such questions came from learned Muslims. The group of ulamas, you can say, the scholars of Islamic traditions, they had tried to answer these questions which arises in the minds of the common people of this community. They had tried to spread knowledge, so in that way they had tried to strengthen their social identity, as well as they had tried to satisfy the people, to solve the curiosity of the people, to answer such questions which arises in the minds of the people. Now let's talk about the ulamas. Ulamas were the religious scholars who have knowledge about Islam, So for the religious scholars, knowledge derived from Quran and the sayings of Prophet. In this way, one could know what God has tried to say them. Okay, why God has created them, what was the purpose of the God, and what God wants, okay, them to do. So they could find the answer of these questions through Quran and through the sayings of Prophet Muhammad. In this way, the ulamas, the scholars, the religious scholars actually, they used to guide the world. Okay, they used to guide this community. They used to help people to gain knowledge. Okay, the ulamas, they also used to believe that if they will write the things, if they will write their perspective, it will help the future generation as well, because the written documents, the written records, it remains, isn't it? The ulamas in medieval era devoted themselves to writing tafsir and documenting Prophet Muhammad's authentic hadith. That means they used to believe that if they will write the things, it will remain and it will be helpful for the future generation to gain knowledge, isn't it? And they used to write the sayings of Prophet Muhammad, okay, whatever Prophet Muhammad has said, okay, they used to record those things, and they also used to believe that through that the future generation will be knowledgeable. Now, some of these ulamas or scholars of Islamic tradition, they had prepared a body of laws. Now, this body of laws were named as Sharia. Okay, this body of laws were named as what? Sharia. Sharia is basically the straight path through which they could govern the relationship of Muslims with God. So, the people of this community, they could relate, okay, they could connect to God through rituals and also through humanity, or you can say by doing good deeds. Okay, like they used to believe that if they will you can say they will practice alarms, okay, it will help them, okay, to connect with God. That's why they used to donate many things. Okay, so they believe that in order to connect God, people should follow certain steps, like they should do the regular prayers, okay, and they should perform good deeds. Now, in order to govern this particular community, a particular community will be governed through rules and regulation, isn't it? So, the laws of this community were written, okay, and it was known as Sharia. You can say like that. Okay, Sharia is basically the body of laws. Okay, the laws and regulation of this community was known as Sharia actually. Now, differences are there in the way of interpretation of the sources and methods of jurisprudence. Jurisprudence means the you can say like that the judiciary. Okay, so for justice, there were certain for the legal system, you can say like that, there were certain methods, there were certain way of interpretation. Okay, differences are there in the interpretation because the source from where they were interpreting might be same, but the way of their interpretation varies because every person has their own style. Now, methods of this jurisprudence, which means legal system, led to the formation of 4 schools of law. So, the legal system has formed 4 schools of laws, and this was formed in 8th and 9th centuries. Now, these four schools of laws were Maliki, Hanafi, Sufi, and Hanbali. Okay, so these were the names of these four schools of laws. Now, Sharia provided guidance, okay, to solve the legal issue within the society, within the community. You can say like that as well. Now, the Sharia provide guidance on all possible legal issues within Sunni society. Through it was more precise on questions of personal status than on commercial matters or panel and constitutional issues. Now this point refers that they were more involved with the personal problems like marriage, divorce and inheritance. So through that you can say that they used to focus more on the social factors rather than commercial matters or panel means punishment which is offered to one person under the legal system, okay, and constitutional issues. So they used to give more importance to the social factor. Before it took its final form, means before Sharia was finalized, some kind of adjustment was done. Okay, adjustment was done into the account of customary laws and also in political and social order. Now, what do you mean by the term customary laws? Customary laws are the pattern of behavior that can be verified within a particular society, or you can say like that, a regular pattern of social behavior which has been accepted by the people living in the society because it was considered as the benefit, okay, as their benefit, okay, it was considered as their benefit. So that is customary law. So in the account of customary laws and political and social order, there were certain adjustment which was made before finalizing the Sharia or the body of law. Customary laws, however, retained means kept their strength in large parts of countryside. So in a large part of countryside, they were stronger because of this customary laws. But they continued to ignore the Sharia in matters such as inheritance of land by daughters. So they ignored this kind of matters like inheritance of land by daughters. Bypass means ignored. Okay. In most of the areas, we have seen there are rulers as well as officials. So rulers with his officials, he used to deal with the matters of state security. That means if certain kind of problem arise, the ruler with his officials try to solve it, and only selected cases were sent to the Qazi. Now who were these Qazis, students? These Qazis were the judge, okay. Only selected cases were sent to the judge. Now this Qazi appointed by the state. Now this Qazi was appointed actually by the state, and in each and every cities or locality there are judge or Qazi. Now they often reacted as an arbitrator in disputes. Arbitrator, the word means that he often tries to solve the issue beforehand. So in this way, the person will not get severe punishment. Okay, so he was the arbitrator in disputes rather than a strict enforcer of the Sharia. Rather than the strict enforcer of the Sharia, he was the arbitrator. He used to solve the problems beforehand only, so that the person will not get severe punishment. That was the thing a Qazi or judge used to do. Now, A group of religious minded people arises in the medieval era, and this group were known as Sufis. Now Sufis, they were deeper and more personal knowledge they had about God. Okay, they were they used to follow the path of asceticism. Asceticism means they used to keep themselves away from the worldly pleasure, you can say like that. And mysticism, okay, they were not materialized. Okay, they doesn't believe in the materialized things. Okay, they doesn't use the materialized things, you can say like that. Okay, so Sufi, they used to live peacefully, and they had deeper knowledge about God, and they also used to keep themselves away from worldly pleasure, that is asceticism. The more society gave itself up to material pursuits and pleasures, the more the Sufis sought to renounce the world and rely on God alone. So more the society become more and more materialized, okay, involved in worldly pleasure. These Sufis, they try to renounce the world, okay, they try to recreate the world, and they try to explain that people should depend on God alone. Okay, people should give up their worldly pleasures. People should not run for materialized things. Okay, rather than people should depend or rely on God. Pantheism is the idea of oneness of God and his creation, which implies that the human soul must be united with its maker. So there was a, you can say, Sufism is basically a peaceful thing. Okay, Sufism, if you have heard Sufi music, or if you have seen any Sufi video in the YouTube, you will find that it is very much deep. Okay, it is, you can say, peaceful music, and in through their music they had tried to connect to God. That was the thing. Okay, now pantheism means love God for his creation. Okay, the Sufis, they used to believe that people should love God for his creation, and also they should try to connect with God. Okay, unity with God can be achieved through an intense love for God. So how people could connect God? People could connect God by their intense love for God, which is known as Ishq, which the woman Saint Rabia of Basra praised in her poem. So this was the sayings of one woman. Her name was Rabia. Okay, and she has actually said that the unity with God, that means with God you can be united. Okay, you can achieve the unity with God through an intense love, which she has specified with the word Ishq. Now, Bayazid Bistami, an Iranian Sufi, was the first to teach the importance of submerging the self in God. Means to be fana with God. Okay, to leave everything and to connect with the God. Okay, Sufis use musical concerts, which were known as sama, to induce ecstasy and stimulate emotions of love and passion. So to show the intense love and passion, they use musical concerts, or you can say sama. Okay, and in this way they try to connect with God through their music. They try to connect with God. Okay, their music were deeper and deeper, you can say like that. Okay, so in this way they used to connect with God. Now this person, Bayazid Bistami, you have to remember, this was an Iranian Sufi. Okay, he was actually an Iranian Sufi, and he first taught that people should connect with God if they will leave everything and they will try to connect with God, if they will submerge their self, okay, in God. In this way they can connect to God. So this importance of submerging the self, that is fana, in God was first used by this person, Bayazid Bistami. Okay, then Sufis use musical concern sama in order to connect with God. Okay, so Sufis were basically the people who has not you can say connected the God politically. They had connected the God with religious tradition. Okay, they used to believe with they used to believe in actually religious tradition. Okay, they were not involved in politics, rather than they used to believe in religious tradition, you can say like that as well. And they used to live all the worldly pleasure. Okay, they used to live a simple life, and they try to connect with God with music. Okay, with sama, you can say like that. And this idea of Sufi, okay, this spread. Okay, Sufism gained popularity, and it also spread, and it has also challenged the Orthodox Islam as well. So true Islam from an old omen and true chivalry from a water carrier. It was used by learned true Islam from an old omen and true chivalry from a water carrier. These were some of the phrases which were used by them. And by making religion more personal, less than institutional, Sufism gained popularity, and in this way they had challenged the Orthodox Islam as well, because their way of worshipping God was different. Okay, they used to believe in religious perspective rather than political, isn't it? So that was the thing. So I hope you have understood. So tomorrow we will discuss about the Greek logic in Islam community, and you will also know about the accounts, the books of this particular community. Okay, bye bye, have a nice day.